Tonight's committee meeting to order. First thing I want to say is that item 5 is pulled from the agenda, postponed until December 19th.
No, I'm sorry, November. I should have said.
Oh, November,
next week.
November 19th. Okay. So if anybody's here for that, I don't see anybody leaving. Okay. All right, everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on claims.
Claims this evening are $1,379,361.24. It includes one bond payment in the amount of $439,366.26.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on regular operators licenses.
Tonight, you're asked to recommend approval of 4 regular operator licenses for the period of November 13th, 2018 to June 30th, 2020 to Anne Marie Branson, Jamie Houston, Abigail Gilbert, and Marcia Dizano, contingent on payment of any outstanding debt owed to the city and successful completion of the background check.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on the reallocation of capital funds and approval of the quote for lighting at the Lakefront Park Amphitheater.
Good evening. Michael Mraz, Public Works Director for the City of Hudson. Items 6 and 7 kind of go hand in hand with one another. Kind of tackle item number 6 first because it's first on the agenda. As part of the 2018 Capital Improvement Plan, the ceiling replacement at the Lakefront bandshell was deemed an item that needed to be done, and as part of that, we're looking to redo the light systems as well, to update the lighting to be more professional. I reached out to a couple of professional kind of lighting and sound companies out of the cities, and they both came over and kind of gave some thoughts and ideas of what it would be or what it would look like. And what they suggested was what was in your packet for $14,994, and what it would be was we're kind of looking at eliminating the current lighting, which is kind of a pendant lighting, and going to a more professional track system where we would hang a truss kind of in front of the arch up towards the top. And then there'd be 12 different LED, all-weather LED lights that we would hang from this truss. And then there would be vignettes replaced on kind of the ledge of the bandshell that would kind of to shine up, you know, during off-peak lighting. And what we could do is we could actually, with this system, would be we could program like 14 or 15 different events into the controller, whether it be a play, concert, speaker, you know, so on and so forth, where it'd be pretty dummy proof. You go, if you had a concert going on, you'd hit concert, and the lights would all be preset. And then we could also change them, you know, through the seasons, whether it's, you know, Christmas season, Easter season, so on and so forth, fall season. So the project or the lighting is pretty limitless. Well, in the capital improvement plan, there's only monies allocated for $25,000, which covers the ceiling replacement that we got bids back on, which is part of item number 7. So I'm looking to transfer funds from the 3rd Street steps removal, which we did in-house. If you haven't noticed, we removed the steps up at Prospect Park here off 3rd Street, and that was in the capital improvement plan as well at $20,000 or $35,000 to remove those steps and replace it with something different. So I'm looking to do something a little different up there, save some monies, because I know that they did some preliminary engineering costs and it came at like $100,000 to remove those steps and replace them, and it just wasn't in the budget, it wasn't feasible. So I'm looking at possibly extending the trail down towards the water lift station along the bluff line, and then maybe doing like a little switchback and then crossing the road kind of further up 3rd Street Hill to coincide with the sidewalk on the west side of 3rd Street. So looking at saving some monies there, and the monies that I'm looking to save would be transferred to support the new lighting, the professional lighting down at the amphitheater bandshell. So that's my request tonight.
In taking a look at the proposal by, what is it, Motif Vignette?
Mystique Sound Solutions is the group.
Oh,
that-
gotcha.
Yep.
It shows like a remote control. I
So that would
have a-
be, yeah. So
have
it'd
a
be
feeling that could get lost.
it'd be a controller. It'd be mounted inside the breaker panel that we currently have down there.
Right, okay.
So it wouldn't be mobile. It would be hardwired in. Nobody's
Got it.
going to be running off or losing it. So, yeah,
Do you think this opens up the door for more usage of the band shell?
absolutely. Yeah. And what they're saying is, even like on a night like tonight, we could light it, and the 4 vignettes, they're LEDs, so they're super cheap to operate. But just to give kind of that holiday feeling or flavor, that type of thing, we really kind of show off, especially with the ceiling repairs that we're looking at doing, replacing the ceiling panels with some LP Smart Side siding, and then painting the beams to kind of accentuate the beams that are inside the band shell. So kind of dress it up a little bit and be the focal point of the river. And a lot of events happen down there, so I think it's an appropriate place to spend some monies.
I guess that was my next question, is kind of relates to both of them. As we're looking at the riverfront study, I mean, we're talking about potentially shifting or turning the band shell. Does that sound right?
I would say probably not. That was a suggestion to move it to the southwest corner of the park, and I think that was. I mean, we haven't had a chance to bring it up here, but it just
right.
didn't seem like a good idea.
Got it.
So I doubt that would be a proposal coming forward.
And
Gotcha.
I mean, even if something did come down the line and we did look at moving, this lighting system would be mobile, of course, and these lights are good for 100,000 hours. So, I mean, they'll last a really long time.
Are you leaving them up? How are you going to vandalize proof them?
The lighting themselves,
Yeah.
so they'll be hung up on a truss. So they'll be about 25, 30 feet up in the air, kind of right where the arches of the band shell.
Right.
They'll be hung up in that location, and we'll just keep them out, all winter long. So I guess I don't know.
Are you guaranteeing their safety?
Guarantee's a tough word.
Ah.
Yeah, but I mean, is there a problem with vandalism down along the band shell? Because if there is, I mean, we could remove them after each season.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There has been in the past.
Okay.
In particular, the bathhouse.
Okay.
So you need to be aware of it.
Okay.
We've had, and I don't know, I haven't heard any reports on it, but of course, like at Christmas time, we've had trees and stuff in there, and I haven't heard of vandalism in there
Right.
in the past, but
Sure.
it's not to say it hasn't.
The only thing that I would be worried about is, they're locked. There's a locking mechanism that these lights lock to the truss.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not anybody's going to go up there and take them down. It's slim to none. It's more vandalism, throwing rocks.
What's in there now for lighting?
So there's currently like 18 pendants, just pendant lighting that's recessed, or not recessed. They're in the current ceiling structure themselves. So, and they're just spread sporadically throughout. So, it's, you flip a switch, they're on, you flip a switch, they're off. So
Okay, and those will be removed?
those would be removed, yes. Yep.
Have you spoken with anybody at the FIPS by chance?
No.
Just about lighting in general, or?
No, I haven't. No.
But these are professional
Oh, yeah.
outdoor.
Yeah,
lighting.
the fact the gentleman that gave us a quote has been in Hudson here and has worked with sound and lighting in the past, so he's very aware of our, band shell and some of the challenges that it faces, and this is the plan that he came up with that would best kind of illuminate that area.
I'll move we approve this, but don't lose sight of those 3rd Street steps.
Yep,
Those are important for people.
absolutely.
Good.
Yep.
I'll second.
Motion second. I got one more question, and I was doing some technical difficulties here.
Yeah.
You were started out with your presentation. Did you say the lighting is remotely controlled?
It's a control panel that's hardwired, or it's basically it'll be attached to behind the breaker panel, so that nobody can remove it, run off with it. It'll be behind lock and key. There is an option to have a remote, but I don't know if we want to do that.
Okay.
Remotes get lost.
Well, I was just
Yeah.
wondering, as far as like vandalism, how is that going to
Yep.
work as far as a control panel or whatever? Okay. All right, motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion of possible action on award of the construction contract for the 2019 amphitheater ceiling replacement project.
So we received bids to replace the ceiling portion of the project down at the band shell, and you can see the numbers in your memo. Low bid came in at $22,400 from Derek's building, ranged all the way up to mid-50s. So we had four bidders. So just looking for approval on spending those funds that were designated in the capital improvement plan for ceiling replacement.
We did plan for that? That was in there?
Yep, that's
I'll
in
move we
the-
approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on reallocation of police department budget savings salary funds for patrol vehicles and uniform allowance. Chief?
Evening. So I'm requesting a budget adjustment. I've got about between $130,000 and $140,000 in savings from the payroll side of my budget this year. We are over in a few areas of our budget. Essentially, the patrol side, supplies and expenses, mostly because of expired equipment that had to be replaced, and the two new officers that we had this year, having to equip them and buy them new tasers and gas masks and helmets and cameras and things like that. Another thing that impacted that was a lot of our body camera and squad camera equipment is out of warranty now, so when it goes down, I have to buy a new replacement. So essentially, those are the reasons that I'm over in the safety equipment side and the uniform allowance side of my budget, and I was going to ask for $20,000 to be moved from the payroll side into the supplies and expenses side to cover those overages. The second thing is the 2019 squad car year is actually there's no 2019 models available. Ford is no longer manufacturing a 2019 model, so they are shutting everything down and switching everything over to a 2020 model, which is apparently all redone, which is not a bad thing. The problem with it is that the price per car is going up about $5,000 than what we've seen in the past. So my hope was to move $20,000 from the payroll side into the capital side for this year's budget, so I could buy some of the equipment for those cars for next year, so that I don't have to take it out of next year's budget, because what we have budgeted I don't think will cover the build of two cars. And what I mean by that is the radar units, the camera units, and there was one other.
How much did you say you had over, Jeff?
I am over essentially in training. We're over by $2,000.
Let me back up. I think I asked you, how much do you have available?
And the personnel costs that haven't.
Approximately
$130,000, a little bit plus some
So
change.
is $20,000 enough for you to meet your needs for your equipment, as far as the reallocation for the supplies?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you're looking for another 20 to
And then another 20 to allow me to pre-buy some of the equipment I'll need for next year's cars.
And Jeff, was that 20 or 25 in the capital?
I'm sorry, 25.
That's what I thought, okay.
So 45,000 out of the 130 for your two items.
Yes. And then that brings me to the third item.
You can't save none, huh?
Well, we just had a squad car totaled on the interstate again last week, and that means I'm a car down. So I would like another $40,000 minus whatever we get from insurance for that car to replace that car.
Do we know the value of it yet?
Spent the last time we had one totaled, I think we got about $8,000 for it.
It'll depend on, we just turned the claim in. So.
It depends on the depreciation and the depreciation of the equipment. What the good thing is I can reuse most of the equipment from that vehicle. The cage is intact, the camera was good, the radio was good, so I don't have to rebuy everything for that car. The problem is, like I said, Ford is no longer making a 2019 model year. And if I waited to order when I ordered the cars for next year and essentially order 3 cars instead of 2 cars, I'd be waiting until July to get that replaced. I called around the state the last week. There is 1 squad car left at Ewald down in Milwaukee, Oconomowoc. They have the state contract bid. There is 1 2019 model year left that they're holding for me until tomorrow morning, and if I can get approved
How much?
to move that money. $29,319 plus $285 for a destination charge to have it shipped up here.
So you want about $80,000.
Yes, sir.
And then with the understanding that it would be less
Be
depending.
a little less than that, whatever
Get
we
our
get back
insurance
for
back.
Right.
insurance.
I'll move we approve the $80,000 for the 3 items, contingent or however you want to word it for your insurance claim.
And Jeff, that would be 85,000, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
20.
20, 40, and
20,
25.
25, and 40, so yeah, 85,000.
85,000.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion.
I do have one question. So you said 29, the one at Ewald is 29,319 plus a couple $100 to deliver it. Is the additional 10,000 then going into that 40,000 just to help outfit it?
That's to build it, to put
That's
the
to
light,
build
to
it.
have the installers put the radio in, put the radar in, put the light
Got it.
bar on it.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action on letter of engagement for Highway 35 enhancements.
So as part of the Highway 35 enhancements that are running through downtown the next couple of years, the state is already starting to draft specs and plans for that improvement. And per one of the last council meetings, the council approved the preliminary designs of bump outs, improved lighting. Those improvements were identified. And as part of that, we're looking to engage with SEH to help us develop those plans and specs for the lighting and the bump outs and medians. So come before Finance Committee to ask for approval for that. And apparently we can use TID 6 monies for that cost. Yes. So just looking for approval to, approve the LOE so that we can start working with SEH and start designing the lighting, the bump outs, that kind of thing to coordinate with the state schedule.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on reallocation of vehicle equipment funds for the purchase of a 2004 vac trailer.
Yeah, so this is pertaining to a piece of equipment that has come across my desk and Kevin Soltis' desk. It's a 2004 vac trailer, and it was previously owned by Washington County, which is just across the river. And I know that Tom Zuley, my predecessor, has talked about purchasing a vac unit to help with cleaning catch basins, doing utility potholing, thawing storm sewer lines in the wintertime or the springtime. And the reason why it wasn't purchased previously is because the cost of a new one was substantial, $125,000 for a new unit. So when this unit came across our desk at $18,000, we thought we'd take a chance to take a jump on it. They came over and they demoed it with our staff. We got our staff's response to it. It's a great unit. It would fit our needs quite well. It's has to have some hoses replaced on it, which McQueen will do. They'll outfit it with new hoses, new hydraulic hoses, so it should be a good unit for us for a long time. So basically what I'm looking to do is, in the 2018 capital project funds, we had some remaining balances. One was from the single axle plow truck, which was purchased already. In fact, staff picked that up today and is going to bring it down to Universal to get it outfitted. But the remaining balance in that fund was $11,204.54. So looking to use that as well as remaining funds in the trailer cement saw capital line item, which was $7,492 to go towards the purchase of the vac trailer.
Did you buy the trailer cement saw?
We bought the trailer, and then when staff went out and got prices for the cement saw, it came in at like $35,000 for a new cement saw. So not nearly enough to cover the cost of that. And talking to staff, public works staff, you know, the guys out in the field, talking to them about, you know, can we get by and do some maintenance to that cement saw and get it by for a few more years and then have the opportunity to get this vac trailer that's kind of fell into our laps, what would be a better purchase? And overwhelmingly it was, let's get that vac unit in here because we'll use it.
How long do the vac trailers typically last?
This one has low hours. It's just like any piece of equipment. If you maintain it, it'll last, you know, 20, 25, 30 years for a unit like this. So I'm looking to get at least another, you know, 10 to 15 years out of this unit.
Why do you think Washington County discarded it? Do you know?
They went to a vac truck, similar to what we have at the water shop. Just because they're all over the county and the capacity, they wanted a lot more capacity, so that's why they offloaded it.
You don't want to buy somebody else's problem. That was my first thought.
Yeah, that was our first thought too. But Kevin and I went and looked at it, and like I said, they brought it over here. We demoed it, and everything checked out really good. And so I wouldn't have any concerns with purchasing this unit. In fact, we talked to the gentleman at Washington County. Kevin knows the foreman over there, and he called him and asked him about, you know, the unit itself. And they said it's a great unit. Didn't have any problems with it. He wouldn't hesitate buying it. I feel confident with this purchase.
Yeah, so they just upsized.
Yep. Yeah, basically.
And would this have enough capacity for the uses that you need?
Yep.
Okay. I'll move to approve the transfer.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, that was just a, and you want the,
Transfer and purchase.
and purchase.
Transfer and purchase.
I'll amend the, my motion to transfer and purchase.
Second still stands.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Discussion possible action on a new fee agreement with the Rodley Besgar Law Firm.
Well, you know me. I've been your city attorney for since 2000. This is Dan Murray with our firm. He's been the municipal prosecutor for the past 4 years, and we've been providing those services since 2000 as well. As I mentioned and told you at the last 2 Finance Committee meetings, we have not raised our rates since 2007, and expenses have gone up, and we just felt we needed to look at our fee agreement and adjust it to today's rates. And so what I did was conducted an informal survey of municipalities in St. Croix County. The range roughly for city attorney services ranges from $160 an hour up to $200 an hour. Several firms do this set an additional rate or a different rate for specialty services. And the idea behind that is that these services require special skills in addition to the municipal work. And those rates usually, or the ones I found in St. Croix County, ranged from $2.25 to just their regular private rate, not limiting it to any particular rate, but their regular private rate. What we're proposing for the city of Hudson is to raise our general municipal to $185 an hour, and then set up for special skill services such as real estate, police and fire, development related, utility related, personnel related services. Those would be at $200 an hour. That's still below the rate that other firms are charging for these specialty services. It's significantly below our private rate, which is $2.95 an hour, and our regular rate that we're offering to new municipal clients is now $200 an hour. So we're still offering Hudson below what we're offering new municipalities.
Catherine, what were you offering, or what was your rate charged for special existing now for us?
We didn't differentiate. We've been working at $150 an hour since 2007, and we did not differentiate between the different types of work. What we found is often it takes potentially a different attorney in the firm, such as litigation. I don't have skills in that area. That's not my experience. And to bring in a lawyer with different skills requires a higher rate. Some of those, I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, some of the items listed are reimbursable from private development, and so that wouldn't be at the cost of the city. Others are very rare, like Police and Fire Commission. That also is a special skill. I do that for other municipalities, just that aspect of municipal work. Again, it doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it requires quite a bit different type of skill, doing a trial type hearing and so forth.
Now, I'm not a math major, but I got figured that it's about a 25% increase.
I calculated 23%.
I didn't do the math on that. What I did the math on was the increase, then dividing it by the years we've been at 150 since 2007. That's about 2%, and that's consistent with essentially what you've been offering your employees for the last several years. So you've got to understand we've been at 150 below market for 11 years. And
I think the last time you sat and talked with us about this, I know you were uncomfortable. You don't like asking for money.
And I'm in a different place than I usually am.
We finally got our thumb on you. You
got to do it.
What if, did you sharpen the pencil? What if we did 175 for general and 185 for special? Or you said?
Well, no, what I proposed, and I'm willing to do this, is 175 for 2019 for general municipal, but still at the 200 for the specialty services, and then 185 for 2020. And that would be for both municipal, and the general municipal. For prosecution and general municipal.
So the 200 would stay? I'm sorry.
200, yes, because that's below, our private rate is $295, and other firms are charging essentially their private rate for those specialty type services. We're offering it at $200, which is significantly below that.
But that stays 200 in 2020? Or does that
yes, no, that would stay 200 in 2020, and what we've set it up in the agreement at is a 2-year agreement.
Is phone calls from council people free now?
Sorry, Randy. No can do.
We got.
And we encourage staff to contact, one of either Brenda or Jenny or I just before they call Catherine right away, so that we can kind of judge whether she's the person to call. Can we call the League of Municipalities on some things, which we have, because they have legal service people. I know Catherine contacts them too, but there's been times where we haven't called her, or liquor license issues. We call the Department of Revenue, before we call her. So we've tried to encourage staff not to just every time they're not sure about something, pick up the phone, because it does cost. If she answers the phone, we still have to pay her whether we've.
Well, Catherine, in your defense, or whatever you want to call it, you are valuable in the fact that you have the history with us, and I do appreciate you sharpening the pencil a little bit. But,
I thought 185 was sharpening it. So.
Oh, you wanted to go from 200 to 185? That's fine, all right?
No, that's not the proposal. But no, thank you, Randy.
Because my first thought was, well, let's put it out for bid. And, there's always that availability to do so, but I think the value that you have because of the issues we're involved with right now, I would be comfortable supporting the what'd you say, 175?
175/200 for 2019 and 185/200 for 2020.
Yeah, and then any pro bono you guys can throw in there. That's a joke.
It's figured into
Just
the
calls
rate.
So I would be comfortable with that. I don't know.
I think that if we put it out for bid, then whoever came in, we would end up spending more because they would have to get familiar. We'd be paying them a lot of money to get familiar with all of our cases. So I'll move to approve this at 175 and 200 for 2019 and 185 and 200 for 2020.
Second. Whoever.
We got a motion and a second.
And we did adjust the budget, so it'll be covered.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can. One question I have though, Kathy.
Yes.
Are you billing us for the survey that you did?
Yes. No.
Never know. Discussion of possible action on additional funding request to begin the process of design and construction of improvements for the Carmichael Road corridor.
At the October 1 council meeting, the council approved and adopted and accepted the Carmichael Road Corridor Study, the final interchange concept and design that SCH worked on us through the Carmichael Road Corridor Study. One of the outcomes of that we determined was that the preferred alternative design that was identified in 2014 wasn't going to be adequate to solve our long-term growing pains. So some additional time and effort went into some minor tweaks to that were outside of the scope of the original study. Staff would suggest that those conversations and that work had to have been done anyways as we move forward and working with Wisconsin DOT on making sure that we can implement the changes that we need to make. Going back to our conversation at Plan Commission earlier today, it's about safety. It's about doing the right thing, and with that, there's a little bit of additional cost to keep that ball moving to the tune of about $14,500. Staff's recommending that these funds come out of the capital project undesignated fund.
What was the balance?
1.4 million.
Well, we have to do this, so I move to approve.
I'll second.
And a motion second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Discussion of debt management policy and debt levy for 2019-2020 capital projects.
In your packet was the memo from me, and as you recall, at the meeting on October 22nd, staff presented the capital projects for 2019 and 2020 as part of that, the CIP that was in your packet, which is the 5-year capital improvement plan. And so tonight we wanted to review with the Finance Committee if all those projects were approved in 2019 and 2020, what the bond size would look like. And we wanted feedback from the committee as to the use of cash, both in the general fund for the fire station and then in the capital project funds to buy down the bonds. And we've got Sean from Ellers here to answer any questions.
Thanks, Brenda. I'm going to go through the preliminary debt projection. So on Brenda's handout, I think she's got it listed on page 5 or exhibit 1 on there. What we're looking at to finance the capital projects for 2019 and 20 is that the committee members will recall we've tried to do a borrowing every other year for the ongoing capital projects of the city. And they end up falling into two categories based on a couple of criteria. One is the useful life of the projects, and two is for state authorization. Some things can fit into the note section, some fit into the bonds. So based on the list of projects and applying, Brenda, remind me again, it's $2 million in cash for the fire station and $950,000 currently out of the capital projects fund?
Correct.
So, and to tie that back, that's out of the $1.4 million balance that Randy just
had.
asked about?
Yep.
So net of that would be the amount that we'd need to finance. So on Exhibit 1 or page 5, you'll see the preliminary repayment schedule for a $2,215,000 note issue, fully amortized over 10 years. The interest rates we're using about 1/4% above current interest rates for the committee's projection purposes right now. So there would be no additional debt payments next year in 19. The debt issues would be expected to be done in 19, and then in 20 and forward would be when the payments are made. If you go over to Exhibit 2, the bond issue, and most of this is the fire station. There is, I think, some streets in there too, Brenda, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. The street portion of that bond issue is only $202,770.
What is that? What street, or what is it?
It would be the street that's being done in 2020.
Pine Street?
No, the street in 2020, I think that is industrial.
Yeah.
Just a portion of that.
So on this one, we'd be looking at a bond issue of $5,330,000 repaid over 20 years. And I think, as Brenda and I talked about that, the fire station should be much longer than that, but under state law, the amortization for a bond issue is limited to 20 years. And we'll look in a second, but we do feel that this amortization fits into the long-term debt planning for the city very well as well. So again, looking at a payment over 20 years, we did do a little structuring to wrap this around some of the existing debt of the city, but looking at about $400,000 in payments through 2033, and then about $423,000 for the last 5 years, 7 years of the issue. So that would be fully financing, net of the cash being applied, all of the capital projects for the next 2 years, 19 and 20. And then if I could have the committee go to Exhibit 3. Exhibit 3, and I apologize, this is why I got my glasses on here too, that numbers get really small on here. But what we've been aiming toward is a plan where we can add the new debt and then also still have capacity in future years where, depending on what the council's plans are, the committee and the council's plan, hopefully be able to add future debt in 2 years, but kind of stay at about the same levy amount. And that's materializing this year. Where I would direct your attention is about 3/4 of the way from left to right. You'll see projected equalized mill rate or tax rate. So for 2018, the year we're in now, our debt levy is $2.35 million, and the equalized value is about $1,830,000. And so our mill rate for debt is equalized mill rate is 1.28 or $1.28 for every $1,000 of value. What the chart shows is with adding the two new issues that Brenda and I have just described, the note and the bonds, we're expecting the levy to stay right around $2,350,000 for the next couple of years. And then thereafter, you'll see over time it starts falling down to about $2 million and then lower. And that mill rate is staying approximately in the same range as well going forward. So we've looked at that from an equalized rate standpoint, which is equalized rate's really your market rate. And then on the far right in green is the assessed value and the assessed rate. And you'll see there it's a very similar situation. The assessed rate for debt is expected to stay right around the same level as it was this past year for the next 2 years, even with adding the new debt, primarily for the fire station, but also all of the other cities' 2019 and 20 capital projects. Now, the one issue that is also in the report that Brenda's put together that I wanted to mention, it's in these numbers as well, is this year we were at 5.27 mill rate, I believe, assessed mill rate, Brenda. And your debt policy talks about overall mill rate for the city at 5.25. And we're expecting, with some operational increases, that the mill rate for the next couple of years will be around 5.35, so about 0.10 above what's discussed in that policy. I should note the policy also says that depending on capital projects that you have coming up, and I would put the fire station in this category, the council and the committee reserve the right to increase it above that 5.25 level. And the other thing I would point out, you're going to do, I think, Brenda, a reassessment in the coming years.
It'll be done in 2020. It'll hit in 2021.
Right. So for the committees, just kind of comparing numbers, on Exhibit 3, again, that equalized value, which is supposed to be representative of the market value of the property in the city, that's currently just under 1.9 billion. And the assessed value is about 1.64 billion. So what typically happens when you do a reassessment is you'll see the assessed value come up to the equalized value. And what that's going to do to the assessed mill rate is drive that likely back down. So I think it'll be probably a year or two, Devin, when the assessment is fully completed, but likely in a couple of years, all other things equal, that mill rate will fall below the 5.25 policy.
It'll be the 2020 valuation for the 2021 budget.
2020 for collection in 21. Yeah. So I don't know from the committee standpoint if there's really a reason to make a change to the policy. It's a good target, the 5.25. I do think you'll be above it for the next couple of years until the reassessment is done, but then you'll very likely be below it thereafter.
Are we wise to borrow our own money? To me, it's like a loan. You want to put as much money as you can down. Are we wise to do that? Or should we bond for it all?
Yeah, Brenda and I kicked it around. Another thing, she covered a lot of bases in her report. One of our concerns was the bond rating, which is a AA2, very strong rating. The city should be very proud of that. I think what you're hitting on here with cash and some borrowing brings your fund balance down, but is still at a very strong position. We looked at the criteria that the rating agency Moody's uses, and I think we're still in as it pertains to fund balance, Brenda, we're still in the AAA category for that quadrant.
So they won't ding us on this potentially.
What we believe in reviewing where the use of cash would be and the additional debt for the fire station, that your numbers on fund balance won't be quite as strong as they used to be, but you're still going to be in what Moody's puts as their strongest category, that AAA level. Your debt, obviously, $5 million and another $2 million is $7 million more in debt, but the city's paying debt back pretty rapidly already. So we think it's a good mix with use of cash and with borrowing that, based on our review, we think we're going to make a strong case to stay at that same.
Stay the course.
Same at that same rating level.
Borrowing the 2 and not less.
Not
borrowing the 2, using the 2 mil.
Yeah, but it's up to the committee. And then what Sean and I talked about today is in 17 we did we bought down the bonds, and we bought them down in the amount of $406,000, I believe. And when I was starting to send the numbers to Sean, I said, well, let's use $950,000 of that 1.4. I think that's a little heavy, and so I would talk to Sean today about, if we increase the size by $425,000 of the notes and use less of that capital project fund of that 1.4.
Yeah.
So then the note issue for the whole group, if you go to page 5, the note issue, instead of 2.2 million, will likely be about 2.6 million, somewhere in that range. And then that capital projects fund will be a little bit stronger. One of the things that Brenda and I talked about is really trying to earmark that capital projects fund for the really short-term capital projects. And then try to, as much as we can, have the borrowings in the 10-year and the 20-year or 15-year category really be more for longer useful life assets for the city.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to the committee, but that's what we.
No, I do. I like that. I'd rather borrow a little bit more than just to.
Draw the cash all down.
Right.
Yep.
Because it's not affecting overall number, really, within.
No, with the 500,000 more, 400 something, right, Brenda? No, we don't think that that will have a detrimental impact either on the levy nor the
rating.
The rating, correct.
Are we taking action on that?
Well, I think if we could reaffirm the debt management policy, the 5.25 assessed rate, if you're still comfortable with that, knowing that the revaluation is going through, and that will take care of itself there, and then to just ask us to go ahead then with the capital projects as they are, knowing that we'd bring them back to council then, knowing that we came to the finance committee and you were comfortable with the borrowing that we're discussing.
So I'll move that we reaffirm the assessed valued rate of 5.25 mill rate per policy the city has adopted, and direct that finance director and Sean and Ehlers move forward with the bonding schedule.
Yeah, I think Brenda's still finalizing, but probably December, January, February, something maybe in that time frame.
You'll finalize the capital projects budget.
Yep, yes. The first meeting in December, I would ask the council to approve the 5-year capital projects. Mm-hmm. And then the second meeting, we would have Ehlers back out to begin bonding. And that is, as long as the fire station timeline, they're updating that right now to see where that's at, but as long as that is kept on track.
That's my motion.
Second that motion.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Thanks, Sean. Sean, I just have one question, just out of curiosity. Who buys our bonds?
Yeah, it's a mix. What we see typically on tax exempt municipals is you'll have high value investors, individuals. You'll have funds. You'll sometimes even have other government entities, depending on their investment policy. So I think it's a wide range, and I think as you guys have seen in the past, we get a lot of bids from a lot of different type of purchasers who are interested in the debt of the city.
So if individuals wanted to purchase them, do you sell them to them, or?
No, what our role is we put together, working with Brenda, the financing package, and then working for the city, we market that and do a competitive sale. Typically, the initial or primary purchaser of the city's debt is either banks or underwriting firms. And then once those firms have done that primary purchase, some of them will hold it in their own portfolios as investments. Others will resell it on the secondary market to individuals, mutual funds, all kinds of different purchasers. And then there's a site where you look at some point, you can see how bonds get traded in the future once they're out on that secondary market.
I just, that's the business I'm in, is, financial advisory. I've never seen Hudson bonds show up anywhere.
Yeah, they're out there. They aren't as actively traded probably as some instruments, because a lot of people that buy municipal bonds are holding them longer, maybe to maturity. So certainly we can look at that, though. I'm sure you can find them, and we do see typically one of the first places that those initial purchasers will go to is to area institutions to see if they have clients or if they're interested in buying the bonds.
Okay.
I think Bill has one.
What's that?
Nothing.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. I don't have anything. Anybody?
Budget hearing is next meeting. So just a reminder that if anybody has questions or things you want me to check out. if you could
That's
let me
next
know.
week.
What? Next week, next Monday. Let me know ahead of time so that Brenda and I can do whatever we need to do to get you your answers.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Stand adjourned.